We'll talk about that statue a little further. You may have noticed that it's a statue of a samurai holding a cross like as if it's a sword. In fact, we're headed to that statue right now. This is called Plaza Dilao, and it's a little hidden. In fact, it's a little hard to get to. I can't find any pedestrian pathways to reach this area. In fact, I have to ask a traffic enforcer where to actually enter. I have to push my bike just to reach this place. So it's more like a little garden island in the middle of the road. It's hard to imagine why there's a park in the middle of the road, but the park was here first, and the road widening project came in second. So they decided to preserve this place. This park is actually important because it's the Filipino-Japanese Friendship Park. This park will contain the statue of Justo Takayama Ukon. His statue is a typical samurai, but instead of a sword, he's holding onto a cross. And this is why they preserve this park. It's meant to celebrate the friendship between Filipinos and the Japanese people. Many people are not aware of this, but we've been interacting with the Japanese even in pre-colonial times. The best testament to this is actually a page in the Boxer Codex. Here's a picture. Justo Takayama Ukon was a Christian Japanese. And he's not just any Japanese, he's actually a Daimyo. That's the one in power. The one that influenced Takayama Ukon to be a Christian was none other than his father, Daimyo Takayama. Daimyo Takayama was actually a convert, and he was one of the first Christians that accepted it faithfully. By the way, Ukon is actually a title. Takayama Ukon's real name is, or Christian name, is Justo Takayama Ukon. However, just to avoid confusion, we'll just stick to Takayama Ukon. Even at a young age, Takayama Ukon suffered a great deal of violence. Someone was planning to put an end to the Takayamas by none other than Wada Korenaga. Wada Korenaga was jealous of the prestige that the Takayamas are actually enjoying. This is why Korenaga actually just wants to eliminate the Takayamas. It's a little unheard of right now, but back in the day, they do this almost all the time. The Takayamas caught wind of this and decided to put an end to this. So during the night of April 12, 1573, Korenaga and 15 others gathered in the dining hall of Takatsuki Castle. They were about to eliminate the Takayamas, but the Takayamas were ready. There was an intense sword fight between the two factions. And as a result, Korenaga was wounded and fled the scene. Later on, he died from his wounds. The one that wounded him was none other than Takayama Ukon. The castle was burned down, but Ukon seriously suffered a lot. He was wounded in fighting. Now keep in mind, Takayama Ukon was only 21 years old. He wasn't just suffering from his wounds, he was suffering mentally as well. He was actually friends with the one he just killed. Korenaga. He and his father prayed deeply because Takayama Ukon's life was in danger. Remember when I mentioned he was wounded earlier? That wound is a little bit critical. He suffered a wound in his neck and it was kinda deep. Miraculously, Takayama Ukon survived the deep wound. The Takayamas actually served the warlord Oda Nobunaga, and Oda Nobunaga transferred the title of the Takatsuki castle to the Takayama, Daimyo Takayama, the father. But Daimyo Takayama actually decided not to fight anymore. So the title was actually transferred to Ukon Takayama. So Takayama Ukon rebuilt the castle. And at a very young age, he was already a daimyo. He can command 20,000 samurais at that point in time. His life as a daimyo isn't easy. In fact, it's filled with dilemmas. There were two warlords that are fighting each other at that time. That's Oda Nobunaga and Araki Murashige. Although Takayama Ukon was working for Oda Nobunaga, he was playing the role of a peacemaker. He advised Araki Murashige not to side with the enemies of Oda Nobunaga. And as a gesture of goodwill, he gave his sister and his son as hostages. I know it sounds strange, but this was on a different place and a different time. It's probably not any more acceptable in this day and age. Therefore, he will do a lot of things for Araki Murashige. However, Murashige decided to go to war with Oda Nobunaga. And since Takayama Ukon's sister and his son was held hostage, he has no choice but to follow Murashige. And Nobunaga was very much enraged. Nobunaga decided to go to Takatsuki Castle and ordered it to be evacuated. Otherwise, Nobunaga will actually destroy churches and execute a lot of priests. And this is one big dilemma for Justo Takayama. When confronted with this dilemma, he did what most Christians will do. He prayed. He prayed for hours, together with other Christian samurais. After praying for a long time, he went to a certain conclusion. He appeared to Oda Nobunaga as completely shaven and completely unarmed, without any companions. He advised that Oda Nobunaga can do anything he wants to him. This act actually removed some leverage from Murashige and Oda Nobunaga. They will lose bargaining power if he dies there and there. However, Oda Nobunaga can now enter the castle without any harm, and Araki Murashige cannot actually do harm to the hostages. Because even if Murashige is holding hostage to the relatives of Takayama Ukon, Takayama Ukon cannot fully support Murashige. Murashige is in the wrong. Nobunaga actually pardoned Ukon and his samurais. He actually let him keep the castle. And not only that, he was granted with more lands. And also as a result, the hostages were not harmed. Takayama Ukon actually served under Oda Nobunaga, and he fought 2 wars fighting for him. He participated in the Ishiyama Hoganji War, and he also fought in the Battle of Yamazaki. Unfortunately, in the Battle of Yamazaki, Oda Nobunaga actually died. He was replaced by another warlord. The one that replaced Oda Nobunaga is Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Nobunaga was a little tolerant towards Christians, but Hideyoshi, on the other hand, he is a little suspicious of Christianity. Despite Hideyoshi being untrusting of Takayama Ukon, Takayama Ukon actually served Hideyoshi and fought for him in the Battle of Shizugatake and the Siege of Kagoshima. Despite proving his loyalty, Hideyoshi is hostile to the Christians and asked all the Christian daimyos to renounce their faith. Ukon refused giving up his faith. He'd rather give up his land and power. So this is what he did. As a result, he has to live exiled in Shodoshima. However, he has a friend, and that's Maeda Toshi. Maeda Toshi is protecting Takayama Ukon not because he's a Christian, but because he has lots of Christian friends and relatives. And he lived in Kanazawa for 26 years. At this point in time, he's not anymore a daimyo. He is a samurai. It's a very big step down. Despite Hideyoshi not trusting Christians daimyos, he was still good friends with Takayama Ukon. They were civil, then they never talk about politics. While living as a samurai, he did a lot of Christian work and built a lot of churches. Let's not forget that he actually supervised building castles, especially the damaged Takatsuki Castle. He actually had to build it from scratch. Being a daimyo back in the day means you're not just a warrior. You have to be adept in the arts. He's an engineer, an architect, and also a city planner. But he is, of course, known for his tea ceremony. His tea ceremony actually looks more like a mass. And another thing that might be accredited to him is a dish called jiburi. Most historians think that it came from him. His life as a samurai would have gone smoothly. However, this is not going to be permanent. Everything changes. Remember when I said Toyotomi Hideyoshi is not tolerant towards Christianity? He was replaced by what we call an actual shogun. He is Tokugawa Ieyasu. Toyotomi Hideyoshi only forbade daimyos from being Christian. Tokugawa Ieyasu, however, forbade Christianity as a whole. If you are a Christian, you will be crucified. And there were some mass crucifixions in Japan. Those that were not crucified actually turned into Kakure Krishitan, or the hidden Christians. No one knows that they are Christians, but they just live their lives like normal. And they worship in private. However, Takayama Ukon, on the other hand, is on the top of the list of being crucified. Many people suspect that he will welcome crucifixion because he is, after all, a Christian, and not only that, a samurai. But Maeda Toshi persuaded the shogunate for exile instead. He boarded an overcrowded Chinese junk. A Chinese junk isn't junk, it's a boat. And let me explain to you what it actually looks like. Here's a video of a Chinese junk. You may have seen this in movies, and you can see the sails. There are some supporting bamboo pieces of wood that's actually supporting the sails. This is in order to be a little stronger to tears. Just like any other boat, it is made out of wood. Now, this is a little smaller compared to a Spanish galleon. As you can see, it cannot exactly accommodate a lot of people. Now try to imagine you're sailing from Japan to the Philippines using this, and there's 100 of you. It's going to be very difficult. Now, of course, it will have some lights, it will have some water supplies, and of course, it will have some weaponry of some sort, just to avoid pirates. Now, the only difference is that it might be using jars instead of barrels. Jars are better in holding water. Using the Chinese junk, he decided to set sail towards Manila. And in Manila, he was greeted warmly by the Governor General, Juan de Silvia. Actually, Don Juan de Silvia. The Governor General wanted to give him some money, but Takayama declined it. He prefers to have a peaceful life after all the turmoil that happened in Japan. It is also worth noting that Juan de Silva wants to invade Japan with the aid of Takayama Ukon, but of course Ukon declined. It doesn't make sense because he doesn't want it anymore. He gave up his power long time ago. From a daimyo to a samurai to a Ronin, and now as a commoner. But in regards to that, he gained freedom. Because real freedom isn't doing anything you want. It's preventing others from making you do things that you do not want. Ukon lived for 44 days within Manila, in fact inside Intramuros. He died shortly after due to tropical illness. possibly malaria or dengue. After some time, he was beatified and he's now known as the Blessed Takayama Ukon. Regardless of his status, one thing is for certain: he finally found his peace.